try again to do the right thing for America's unemployed workers and the right thing for our economy. 2 days ago, the Republicans in the House voted down a bill to continue unemployment benefits for anyone because they had lost their job through no fault of their own. But just last night, the Republicans on the other body followed suit, blocking legislation again that would have restored and continued benefits. Their opposition was based on the fact that we've just heard a long speech about it wasn't paid for. What a joke. It wasn't paid for. This is sport that's going to hardworking Americans who have played by the rules, paid into the system, and maybe were making $50,000, $60,000 a few weeks ago. These people who spend every day looking for work and have sent out hundreds of resumes, many of which are not even responded to, they paid for this by paying taxes in the past. And with 5 people competing for every available job, they simply cannot find work no matter how qualified and educated they are. In the worst economy in 70 years. Republicans seem like they could care less. They claim we cannot afford to help the unemployed. We have to forgive my shock at hearing this, since they had no problem with spending $1 trillion on 2 wars, not one penny of which was paid for. They voted for all those wars. Now they say they can't afford to help unemployed Americans. The Bush administration presided over the implosion of the housing market and a world economic collapse. Greece, Ireland, and Iceland, you look down around the world, they came in that era. They have asked the banks for bailouts. I remember Frank Paulson in here with his one sheet of paper asking for $700 billion. None of it paid for to bail out bank companies. And Republicans are happy to provide 2 massive tax cuts for the wealthy that also weren't paid for. And yet now they say, we can't afford to help the unemployed. Republicans have spent money like kids in a candy store where they were in charge, but now they say there's nothing left for unemployed Americans. Republicans spent years helping Bush turn the largest budget surplus in our nation's history into the biggest deficit. But today they claim they're defenders of our budget, and they say we can't help the unemployed. They can help them on the top, but they can't help the people on the bottom. They can stand quietly while the bankers pass out bonuses by the billions to their managers, and we don't have a nickel for the unemployed. Here's the bottom line. If we fail to act, nearly 2 million Americans will have lost their unemployment benefits by the end of this week, and that number will grow higher in the weeks to come. More homes will go into foreclosure because if you don't have money, you don't pay your rent. Consumer demand will decline and more people will permanently be out of the labor force. All of this is bad for the economy. Never mind the unemployed, just think about the economy. And that's ultimately bad for the federal budget. Not one Democrat in this room, including me, wants to add a cent to the deficit. We don't want to do this, but we also know that it's the right thing to do now, helping millions of Americans keep their head above water while they desperately look for work. Last night, millions of families in every corner of America had trouble putting dinner on the table because of this foolishness. And I don't know how anyone's going to go to a 4th of July parade or picnic after voting no on this, but I'm sure you will. It's hypocritical and it's callous. In case you missed yesterday reading the New York Times, I suggest you find a copy and take a look at the editorial. And they wrote on unemployment, quote, deficits matter. We all agree on that, but not more than economic recovery and not more urgently than the economic survival of millions of Americans. I sincerely hope these words affect somebody in this body. And when you go to that 4th of July parade, don't be surprised the response you may get if you vote no on this. I yield back the balance of my time.